Michigan judge rules that the Oxford High School shooter can be sentenced to life without parole for killing 4 of his classmates and wounding 7 others. Ethan Crumbley was 15 at the time of the shooting in November 2021 and couldn't be automatically sentenced because of his age. An Oakland County judge said the court did not believe he could be rehabilitated and the crime, quote, does not bear the hallmarks of youth. Crumbley was previously charged as an adult last year and convicted of first-degree murder. His next hearing is set for October 20th and his sentencing for December 8th.